Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Keep 'em Talking Show podcast. So toward the end of last year, we decided to take a little break to reset and kind of map out where we want this year's show to go. We've got a lot of really interesting and fun guests lined up for you already, but I don't think we could have started off any bigger than with today's guest, New York bestselling author Jim Butcher. He's best known for his series, The Dresden Files, which follows Harry Dresden, a kind of noir detective in an urban fantasy setting. Tristan got me off on the audiobooks, and I was hooked immediately. I really enjoyed the characters and the writing. Mr. Butcher's team surprisingly came back to us and said he would get on our show. During the first recording, though, we experienced some problems because of some storms blowing through, and we lost some of the content. And thanks to the team and Mr. Butcher for coming back on a second time to fill in that content. Can't thank them enough for that. His new book, 12 Months, is going to be coming out on January 20th, which will be tomorrow, Tuesday. I've already got mine pre-ordered, so I would highly recommend checking it out. I believe you're going to really enjoy this episode. Mr. Butcher's very animated, so sit back and enjoy. Also, please, to help us keep bringing you these great guests, if you would, just subscribe to our channels on YouTube and Spotify. That really helps us keep the show growing and bringing you great guests one after another. So without further ado, I give you Mr. Jim Butcher.
If I get my 2,000 words done, fantastic. I'm done for the day. If not, as long as I got to 500, I'll just go, okay, stop here, quit banging your head against a wall, go do something else, get my head out of the same space, get into a different physical area, and come back eventually. And then before bed that evening, I'll pull out the computer, and if I haven't gotten things done, then I'll work. And if I get to the end of the chapter, fantastic. If not, if I get 500 words, well, I failed that day, but in failing, I got 1,500 words done, even if it wasn't the 2,000 that I wanted. And, you just do that on a daily basis. And normally, the way it works is the first couple of weeks, it's sort of hard, and I'm finishing chapters, mostly at night. And then the next week, I'm finishing chapters in the afternoon. And then the week after that, I'm finishing chapters as soon as I sit down in the morning. You kind of build up your writing muscles the same way you do your regular muscles.
Right.
But it's all about making the regular effort, about making the effort that's sustainable, and just sort of showing up day after day. That's really how you get writing done. I know there are writers who, some writers are going to disagree with me completely. John Ringo, for example, is the kind of guy that sits down to write, and he writes, he'll sit down for 6 days, hardly ever stopping, and write a 100,000-word novel. Not stopping for rest or sleep or anything else. He just goes. I don't understand.
Intense.
Yeah.
That's intense. It's crazy, isn't it? But
really.
It works.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it works. It works for him. But for me, I think it's more important that you put in a daily effort, that even if it isn't, the hardest thing that you do every day, that is, a priority every day.
Right.
I focus on getting either 500, 250 words written, or no, 1,500 words written daily. Now,
yeah.
I am writing for some people currently, and that's changed the format of it. So it's changed a little bit how I count that. But I still have a daily, either I'm going to write something for that today, or I'm going to put some work into getting that prepared today. One of those two.
Right.
So I understand where you're coming from there.
Yeah.
So, it's not necessarily a 9 to 5 other than what you make it of it. How does that work with your personal life? You can get so into, when you work for yourself, which I do, you can get so into that you kind of, everything else is, put to the side. Do you have a lot of time or do you actually take time to just, take care of yourself, take care of, your personal life and enjoy other things? Or are there times when you're on deadlines and you got to get this done,
Yeah, well, there are times when you've got to put other stuff aside and just nose to the grindstone. Yeah, that's just life.
Yeah.
But mostly, most production days, I'll go out and work out. I hit the gym about 6:30. I'm usually done about 8, and then I'll go back upstairs and write. And I'll be starting that around 9, and on good days I'm done by 11, and I've got the rest of the day to do whatever I need to.
Right.
On other days it's harder than that, and on other days I've got the really hard part of my job, which is all the parts of a writer's job that don't actually involve writing. Yeah. So, like this interview, this is difficult for me. This takes a lot of energy, to show up, because on most days, I might say 500 words in the whole day, maybe,
Wow. Yeah.
that much. But here I've got to come here and I've got to talk for an hour and, do these interviews one after the other, because we're doing the PR rush before the book comes out.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And, so it's like, okay, well, I guess I'm just going to have to pretend to be, this friendly, sociable person when I'm actually this introverted hermit.
Right.
But I show up for stuff like this, like be friendly and social, drink your lemon and honey.
Yeah.
And just try and be a nice guy.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Kind of my job.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I would say
even
if you're not a nice guy, you do a really good job of pretending to be one. I will say everything I've seen of you, you seem like a very likable person.
Try to.
Yeah. So I got a couple of things, and I want to recap just a few things there too. Tristan said we had a little blip in the radar there on our recording.
Yeah.
But
it
one thing I would like to recap is how you make the world that you're in relatable. Like I talked about, how Harry, does these fantastical things. He's in these situations that are life or death, yet he still has to worry about his rent or his car breaking down. I saw also some of the way he talks. Like there was an area, I can't remember, it seemed like there was a vampire who was speaking through another vampire, and Harry said, okay, when you get ready to quit talking through this sock puppet, I'm ready to talk to you, So you're using that. And again, going back to what we said about how Harry sometimes says some pretty hard things to people in the situation, and this vampire is speaking, in a very stoic way, and Harry continues talking down to him, those are the things I love about that character, is how he's able to bring it home, and stuff.
Yeah, that was one of the things I really wanted for him was for him to be unwise enough to just lip off to just anybody, even when he shouldn't, and then to see what happens.
Yeah, I think you've described him before as a D&D wizard that doesn't even have a particularly high intelligence, but has a really low wisdom and a really high constitution.
Yeah, and a really high constitution.
Exactly.
So I rolled him up as a D&D character when I was starting, just because I was putting it together so artificially, because this was just a project to prove to my teacher how wrong she was.
Yeah.
So I just kind of rolled up characters like they were D&D characters, because that was, kind of what I knew about building characters. And Dresden wound up with a 16 intelligence and an 8 wisdom and an 18 constitution. So I knew he was just going to get beat up a lot.
Yeah.
Now, question, would you still classify him as a pure human wizard in the current state of things, or do you think things have changed?
Well, yeah, I mean, he is. He's got additional stuff that he's added on. He's added on mantles.
Okay.
He's got a couple different ones. He's got, the Warden of Demon Reach and the Winter Knight, and he's holding both mantles at the moment.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's and that's stuff that, he's still, I mean, he's kind of still got to be human in order to play the role that I and the story universe needs him to play. So they've only been able to kind of draw him off to one side or the other just kind of so far. But he's still got to keep the whole mortal free will thing going.
Yeah, that's actually a really big theme in the whole story, especially with how with the Fae especially. I think you see it a little bit with like the demonic and angelic forces, but the fact that humans stand in this sort of middle ground between good and evil, chaos and law, all of these forces that are kind of holding the world together, they are that sort of force that can tip it one way or another. Whereas, a Fae cannot become something other than its nature, or it can, but it's much more difficult. A human could side with either faction and then tip the side of a war.
Sure. Yeah, that's kind of our place. Yeah.
So going back to that about how I mentioned that I'm hoping that, because I haven't read the whole series, that Harry kind of represents the age that you were when you started, and as he grew through these stories that he changed. Do you see that?
He started off about 5 years younger than me. Okay. I think he was 25 when Stormfront got published.
Okay, so you were 30 then when Stormfront was published, right?
I was. Yeah.
I looked it up online and it said you were 25, which so must have been like AI hallucination or something. You can't.
I was 25 when I wrote. I was 25 when I wrote it.
Yeah. Okay. I
was 30 by the time it got published.
But do we see a progression in Harry's personality throughout the books? Is that something I can look forward to?
I hope so.
You definitely do. I have to say personally.
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned earlier about how Harry, with the Wardens, he starts off with this positive but sort of naive view of kind of fuck the man. These guys are jerks. They're power crazy. And as he grows up, and he kind of, he doesn't lose that. He understands that, yes, there's a lot of bad with the Wardens, but he also says, okay, look at the things the Wardens are dealing with, the things we need them to do, that sometimes it isn't so black and white, that sometimes they do something that looks bad and might even still be bad, but is necessary on the greater scale of things.
Yeah. And Harry, I mean, he's been slow to learn some things. I've had to hit him over the head with a bigger and bigger bat on some issues, but he does eventually learn stuff. And as a result, it sort of changes who he is. And he's a much different person than when he started the series. Not like necessarily a better or worse person, but a much different one who's been through a lot of things and has, I think he's somebody who has gained more empathy for all kinds of different people.
Absolutely.
Rather than just kind of, he would see somebody who would go, oh, they're a victim, I must help them. And that was just kind of his only point of view when he starts off the series. But as he goes on, he starts learning, oh, wait a minute, some victims, some folks that are in a bad way are in a bad way for a real good reason. Perhaps they brought some of that on themselves. Yeah. And it's stuff that he's had to learn as he's gone along.
And it's interesting because as we're following Harry in a first person perspective, we kind of notice it at the same time that Harry notices it, which is a lot later than everyone else. That being how much of a threat he's becoming in the sort of game of things, how he's affecting the geopolitics of the world, and how people, when people don't just think of Harry as like, oh, that's the annoying wizard anymore, people are like, oh, this is the guy that could change the scenario we have going on here.
Right.
And it's really fun that we see it that way.
Traditionally speaking, wizards meddle. So
absolutely.
He is in many ways, he's a very traditional wizard. He can't look at a situation and just leave it alone. If he thinks there's something wrong going on there, he has to go meddle. Not always for the better either. He
is that Gandalf kind of wizard that kicks down a door and kicks someone in the face because, wizards have a quick temper, something like that. That kind of situation that I have a place here. I need to take care of something for right or wrong. Yes. Yeah.
So a big question that I have, and some of this is kind of recap. Just want to make sure we get enough in here. But this is something I'm not as familiar with the worlds that Tristan are and the magic, how the magic's played out. Some of the magic when Harry and again I'm speaking for the first books, he draws upon his emotion and his will. He pulls things from the. Did you kind of create a magic for these books, or was this something brought by kind of an existing kind of idea of how magic works?
A bit of both. When I was putting the magic together for the Dresden Files, I ran off to my local Borders and went to the metaphysical section and just bought several books on people who incorporate magic into the practice of their faith. And picked up several different books and just kind of read through them. And then I decided, okay, you know what? I'm going to keep the things that I really like, that these are cool for dramatic moments. And I'm going to throw away the things that I don't like that are not going to fit in as far as my story stuff goes. So I basically just kind of went down a list of a bunch of people's beliefs and played salad bar of what I was going to do to put something together for a story. But it did have the effect of coming together pretty well in terms of making a magic that you could sort of believe would really happen. Sure. That this is, if there were some people who had access to this, they would absolutely, this is how they behave.
I was going to say, it gives me the sensation of someone who uses adrenaline, almost like, a situation where adrenaline is kicking in and they're able to do supernatural things. And then with this same situation, Harry's able to draw upon that in some ways. And it seems like even pull from the environment he's in. Back with a couple of goofballs from last time, and we apologize. Yeah. We were under a tornado watch when that all happened, and it was just, we seen your name and we were scrambling. But we did get a good part. We did get quite a bit. So
yes, sir.
So now we can say we've had you on for 2 podcasts.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Maybe that was our plan all along. So we're going to jump right in. I know you probably don't have a lot of time today, and we want to just jump right into the new book coming out, 12 months, because that's very exciting. And it, if I'm not mistaken, Tuesday is right when it's released. I've already got mine reserved.
Yeah, it'll be on the 20th. Yeah.
Yes, we've already pre-ordered it.
Yeah, so we're all good to go. We're excited to see where Dresden goes from here.
And I believe last time
Is there anything that we, as your audience, can expect different from some new things, some that aren't necessarily spoilers, but some things you can kind of give us a teaser on?
Oh, you mean for the new one?
Yeah.
Let's see. We've got a brand new Valkyrie checking in. Let me think what else. Dresden's going to be picking up a new apprentice.
Ooh,
Oh, now that is
that's
interesting.
interesting.
Yeah.
And last time I think we lost this little bit of the footage, but it was really cool. Back when I had even less hair somehow, I mentioned I thought the ghouls were really interesting, and you said
Right.
that I have something to be excited for.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, if you're interested in how things work with ghouls, then yeah, we're going to see a bit more of them.
I'm very excited for that.
That's great. So, how long has it been since the last book came out?
Last one came out last one came out toward the end of 2020.
Okay, so this one's been in the works for a while.
It has, yeah.
So how does this work when you do a release? Obviously, you're on here, kind of help promote that book. Do you have like a lot of, I'm sure, podcasts and book signings and
Oh yes,
written
interviews and Reddit AMAs, and on Monday I leave for a 10-state tour.
Wow, that's amazing.
I
So
remember seeing I think it was Comic-Con.
I think a lot of people have a misunderstanding of how authors work. It's a lot of work just to put the book together, and takes a lot of self-discipline, I'm sure. But then on top of that, you got to make sure this book is successful and gets marketed out there and gets to the public. I imagine that's the least of the fun.
It's difficult. I mean, the schedule's pretty grueling. It's usually get up really, really early in the morning, travel all day, stay up all night, stay up until late at night, and then repeat for days on end.
Yeah. So
Brandon Sanderson had me under the impression that I would be eating to sleep till 12 every morning eating mac and cheese. So maybe I need to readjust my expectations.
Well, if you get sent on a tour by one of the major publishers, there's quite a bit of travel to do, and that's always tiring. And then after that, you might have time to eat something, and then it's off to do a signing and do talks for a while, and then you have to be positive and forward and aware of your fans, because for a lot of folks it's the first time they're going to meet you, or the only time they're going to meet you, so it's going to be kind of a big deal about whether they're going to be how much of a fan they're going to be after they meet you.
Yeah.
So you really kind of have to. I mean, there's a lot of professionalism that comes into it. There's a lot of tenacity that comes into it.
Right.
Got to bring out.
On the other hand, though, it's like if your biggest problem in life is you're going to be really tired while you go from city to city while people buy your book and tell you how much they like your stuff, and I mean, what a good problem to have.
Sure. Really fair point.
It's a problem, but I mean, there's many worse problems in the world to be dealing with.
There are ditches to be dug in the middle of summer, so avoiding that at all costs.
Or the middle of winter.
Sure.
Yeah, that might be even worse.
I had a quick question for you too. This is something kind of about you, the author. There was a Seinfeld where George was on the Tonight Show, and all the people that were coming up, he was giving them like ideas for the next episode on their show they were doing. Do you have a lot of people like that? Your audience come to you and say, "Hey, have you ever thought about doing this?" Or have you with crazy ideas on new book ideas?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes they do. Sometimes it's good ideas. Yeah. I mean, there's occasional things that I've gone, ooh, yeah, that would be cool, and thrown it in. I'm the cook here, but I mean, I also, I'm cooking for people. So
sure.
Have you ever had?
That being said, I told Tristan I would be very excited to see a Harry Dresden with meet an alien. So just put that in your note up there.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that would be something really a stretch, but thought it would be interesting. Go ahead, Tristan.
I was gonna say, do you ever have a situation where a fan has guessed something and you're like, damn, I have to change it now, or are you pretty consistent on keeping, like, you let them have that win? Okay.
No, I want people to be able to see what's coming. I mean, I don't want it to come in at exactly the angle they're expecting, but I mean, why do you do foreshadowing if it's not to tell people what's coming? And some
And
people are going to be
especially
smart enough to figure it out.
especially
Yeah.
with Dresden, the later books in Dresden not being so much noirs, but still the root of the Dresden Files being heavily noir. I imagine a big part of that is laying down the clues so everyone can piece it together. If they and you can feel that satisfaction if you pull that off at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, and from what I can tell, I mean, almost everything that's going to happen has been guessed at some point by someone. It's just people have not put
Really?
it all together yet. I suppose now that
Sure.
we've got AI, maybe AI could go through Reddit or whatever and come up with something. But I've
And
seen how AI puts information together, so I'm not too terribly worried about that either.
Yeah.
yeah, not somewhat flawed there.
Yeah.
I guess one of the other things I was going to ask you about is, or one of the things that I really like about your books is how you integrate the technology of modern world in with the magic of the world you've created, and how it seems real. I've seen, excuse me, one of your books was Harry was actually on a talk show, and there was a vampire who was going to be debunking Harry. I thought that was a really cool twist.
Right.
And then how Harry would, affect the cameras and things. And then recently I was reading a part where you said cell phones are the canary of the magic world. I really thought that was an interesting thing because those things quirk together, and it almost makes you kind of, bringing that same energy from technology to magic and how closely they may be related.
Uh,
Go
I
ahead.
was going to have a lore question regarding that. In the books, vampires and fairies and such, they can all use modern technology pretty effectively. But wizards are where you start seeing the problem. Is there a
Yes.
reason that human magic causes that?
Humans are inherently conflicted creatures. Um,
Okay.
we're people are we've got all these our societies all have rules for how we're supposed to behave in order to preserve one another, in order to prevent violence, preserve one another's lives, and so on. But when it comes to human instincts are still built for. I mean, those still exist on the saber-toothed tiger level. They're still, you get angry, pick up a rock and hit it. That's the instinct that you have, and stuff that we all have to work to overcome. And when it comes to magic, magic is very much influenced by your emotions and by your desires. And those desires, as human beings, are always conflicted. There's always things that are going on, that stuff in the undercurrents that we don't always manage to handle too well. And as a result, there's turbulence. And when your feelings are starting to be inflicted upon the real world around you, that kind of turbulence is going to have some effects. And what I wanted to do for the Dresden Files was, honestly, what I wanted to do was to not have to deal with cell phones as a plot device, because they make everything so much more complicated. Whenever you read stories, whenever things happen, mostly people have to get rid of cell phones writers have to get rid of cell phones by whatever means, because otherwise an intelligent character is just going to call for help, and go get it. And it's like,
Absolutely.
when I was first writing these books, I'm like, okay, I don't want to have to deal with that. So how am I going to handle this? And it's like, okay, well, I'm just going to have Dresden not get along with technology. And
Yeah.
and then it sort of expanded into other things from that as well. But it initially began with an effort to make it a little bit easier to write what I was trying to write, when it was already going to be complicated enough.
Now, with that magic interfering with technology, could it get to such an extreme where you have magic interfering with really basic concepts, wheels, or is it only going to be electronical technology?
It's mostly electronic stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not going to rewrite the fundamental laws of how reality works.
No, no.
It can if you put your will behind it, but
It sort of
not
affects it, it
passively.
sort of starts affecting probability. I mean,
Okay.
everything exists on probability, right? It's
Sure.
not an absolute certain that if you send a current in from one end of a wire, it's going to go to the other end of the wire. It's just really, 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 really probable that that's what's going to happen. You get around wizards,
Right.
and suddenly that starts becoming less and less probable, and that's when things start going wrong.
Yeah, I noticed that when Harry I guess he would channel his will. I think is the way you put it in a few different spots. Um, it would depend on the situation. If he was fatigued, or if he was mentally fatigued, or if he was under a lot of stress, he had to also incorporate, actually kind of almost Incredible Hulk himself into anger in some ways to increase the power that he was generating. And I guess, though, to what Tristan was saying, vampires are basically strong. They're not magically strong necessarily. So they're not using that will to create magic.
Well,
they are just a strong
it's
being and have some.
it's not as that so much as they're not conflicted. I mean, a
Yeah.
vampire knows what it wants and it's going to go get it, and that's that. They're a bit like cats that way. Cats are never conflicted either.
Yeah.
I
Right.
had a cat try to knock
And,
over my
and they're not
setup
concerned
earlier,
about necessarily bystanders as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and just one other thing I wanted to bring up was the part where you had, I guess there was a someone speaking through a vampire, and you were using like modern terms, like speaking through this skin bag, things like that. I like how you incorporate modern slang and terms and things like that into, but while talking about actually the magic part of it, it makes it much more real to me.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
And
So go ahead, Tristan.
I was gonna say I have a question I ask every author, and I don't know how much time we have left, so I'm gonna get that out of the way real quick. And this is like my most nerdy, geeky Tristan question, and I think your writing is the most fitting for any author we've had so far. Are you familiar with like shows like Death Battle and the online like Superman versus the Hulk kind of conversation?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
So if Harry Dresden was going to end up in a death battle, and you could choose who he fought, or any character in your universe for that matter, what would you want to see that be?
Oh, well, I mean, I've got the same attitude about the attitude I have about death battles is mainly, who's going to win in a fight, Thor or Superman? And the answer is, well, whose comic are they in?
Absolutely,
Because
yeah.
that's what's going to determine it.
Sure.
Absolutely,
So,
yeah.
I mean, if who's going to win in a fight, Harry Dresden or Dracula? Well, whose book are they going to be in? If
suppose
they're in
if
my
you were
book,
like-
it's probably going to be Harry Dresden, and if it's in Bram Stoker's book, it's probably going to be Dracula.
Fair enough.
Well,
yeah.
I don't know. Dracula tends to lose in the end always, every movie and book and story.
Yeah, he
told
really
about
does, doesn't he? He really.
Yeah,
I
he
mean, I'm
really
trying to think.
makes it at the
Trying to
end.
think of one where he wins, and I don't think I've got one.
Yeah, no, he does always
Okay.
seems to come back. But
I suppose
That's
if
true.
you could write a crossover with any modern author, and you can write Harry fighting any character, who would you want him to fight?
Oh, I don't know. The one thing that I have considered doing was at one point I considered doing a crossover of the Denarians versus Larry Correa's Monster Hunters at Cazador.
I've heard of those.
Yeah. But if Harry Dresden wound up in the Monster Hunter universe, then there would be the bounty on him would be so high. There was no way that anybody would skip it. Right.
What are some of the challenges? So there's been several challenges Harry's experienced throughout most of the books, and I've not even experienced all of them yet. Is this new book? Is it going to be a peak at some point? Are we looking at something where he's meeting like an ultimate, like Tristan was saying, someone who he's meeting a character in the book that's going to be beyond anything we've seen before?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really get to demonstrate it yet. I'm sort of setting up for the future, but yeah, at this point in the story, I'm sort of setting up my end game villains. So we're kind of working on that bit by bit.
See,
Yeah.
I figured with Battleground being the book before this, that this would be almost a kind of cooling down point. We're not ending the series, but we're getting a breather. Is it still
By and
that, or
large,
is it like...
By and large, Battleground was kind of a big Blood and Thunder book, and
Yes.
this book is a little bit more introspective, a little bit more personal, and so we're stopping to take stock of all the things that have happened and what kind of effect it's had, not just on Harry, but on the people around him and on the city of Chicago in the stories.
But even then, we are still pushing the narrative towards the end game, so we're getting bits and pieces of that big climactic element of the
Well,
story.
sure. I mean, I've got to do that because I need to set up for the rest of the series.
Absolutely, yeah.
I was listening to one of the books today to get back into, getting ready for this, and you had a scene where Harry was being confronted by, I can't remember her name, but she had a gun, and he was internal monologue was, I tend to be a smart ass when I'm nervous. And that was something we had talked about last time. And one of the things I liked about Harry was that sometimes he's so abrupt with like very powerful beings or even the mob or things like that.
Yeah. People he should not lip off to.
Yeah. He's almost to a cringe stage. He's like, oh my God, I can't believe he's saying that now where
this moment,
there's 5 guns at his head, something like that. Do you pull that from any of your own personal, or is that just something you're just designed for Harry alone? Are you very matter of fact? I
don't.
guess.
I will say this much. I had issues with bullies when I was a kid. I was one of the brighter kids in the classroom, and also like the second smallest kid in the classroom. And then I combined that with the unfortunate tendency of not being able to shut my mouth when I should have. And
Kind of like Harry. So there we go.
that made my childhood a little bit more complicated than it probably needed to be.
Yeah, yeah.
On that,
I've noticed Harry's not
remember-
much on the negotiation. He's just, this is the way it's going to be, regardless of the powerful being in front of him. Go ahead.
Well, there are times when he's like that. Yeah.
I was going to say, I want to confirm the story because I've heard the story about you. There is a story I've heard where you punched someone over something they said to a woman, and I cannot remember the details. Is that real, or did I hear something completely made up?
No,
It was in a
that's
public situation.
It's exaggerated. It was
Okay.
at a con. And there were way too many people at this convention. And I arrived kind of late at night, and the only place there was to get any food was the hotel bar, which was packed. But because the hotel evidently hadn't made sufficient preparation for how many people were going to be there the next day, there was like 16,000 people in this hotel, for this convention.
Wow.
And there was a guy there who, I don't know how he did it, but he managed to get drunk. There was one waitress for the whole place, so she was just frantic running around. She's like, it's going to be a while before your food gets here. I'm like, that's okay. It's no problem. But there was a guy a couple tables over, and he somehow managed to get drunk, and he got upset about the bill. And he stood up and started becoming physical with the waitress, who was this tiny girl. And I kind of looked around, and I realized, oh man, I'm the closest adult male to this situation.
You're the guy.
So I need to say something. So I kind of stepped up between him and her, and kind of slid in between them like this, and I said, "Hey man," and he hit me in the stomach. And I've had a certain amount of training. I know how to take a hit. So I took the hit to my stomach, and then I kind of dropped down, kind of dropped my center of balance a little, and I flipped my right hand out like this at his eyes. It just kind of flicked at his eyes like this with my fingertips, and it made him lean his head back. And then as he leaned his head back, I stepped forward into him and pushed, and so his balance was all going backwards, and so he was drunk too. So he stumbled backwards into his friends at the table, and there was clattering and to-do, and by the time anybody looked up, I'm standing between these guys and this waitress like this, like this, going, "Hey, I don't want any trouble here." And this was 15 years ago. And then his friends gathered him up and took him out, and that was all that happened. The police came in afterwards and kind of asked me what was going on, and I told him, and he said, "Well, I'm going to go around and talk to some people." I said, "All right, the waitress is right there. I think the bartender saw it too. So they're right here, and I'm going to eat, so I'm not going anywhere." And he came back and said, "Well, I reckon there's no problem. Thank you, sir." And off he went.
Yeah. Stories like that can. I've had a few of those myself. The stories tend to grow and grow and grow, and I'll let them.
Sometimes you got to get into a situation, and I don't like hitting people. It hurts.
Sure.
And so just kind of creating some distance and kind of getting this guy away from me was all I needed to do. And so,
it worked.
That was all I did.
I mean, I think it plays into your image a bit too. It probably helped out.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I don't know if anybody, the place was crowded. I don't know if anybody actually, knew who I was at that time. This was earlier in the career.
I remember hearing that story and thinking, yes, that's the most Dresden thing I can imagine to hear about this author, outside of you actually being a wizard. So I think it kind of fits the narrative.
Oh, I'm just very fortunate the guy wasn't holding a weapon when he didn't have a weapon in his hand when he hit me. It was kind of a foolish thing to do, but I deemed it necessary at the time. I was worried. I was concerned about her.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's very what you have to do sometimes. Unfortunately, there's those people out there that just can't enjoy themselves. They have to be conflict everywhere. So.
Make it someone else's problem.
But
and some people just don't handle their alcohol well.
And that's true.
Absolutely.
That's true. So, you got another book on the coming up right after this one, it seems like, and then there's another series as well. Tristan was telling me about.
Mirror, Mirror. I know you at least talked about it. I don't know when it's coming out.
Well, I'm gonna have to write it first. At the moment, I've been very distracted by doing all this PR stuff. So.
Sure.
I can imagine.
Yeah, it's been difficult to move forward.
So you've talked a little bit about Mirror Mirror. I'm okay to talk about what you talked about, right? Like it's
Yeah,
not
sure.
gonna. You've mentioned alternate dimensions coming into play,
Uh-huh.
and there is
Well,
a Dresden Files.
I would say alternate timelines, but yeah.
Okay, yeah, and there's a Dresden Files TV show potentially in the works. Could that be almost like a MCU kind of deal where the TV show is its own timeline, fit in with the narrative, or is
I
that
think
just
it's
something
probably
not?
that would probably be a useful way to look at it. I mean, it's unlikely.
Okay,
It's
yeah,
unlikely that it's going to be completely faithful to the book
yeah.
narrative. You know, that just
I
it's
think
just
it's
yeah.
always
I
really
mean, the book's
nice.
better. We all know that the book's better.
Absolutely,
Always,
100% of the
always.
time. But I
Yeah.
remember when the Wheel of Time show was coming out, and Brandon Sanderson was like, this is just another turning of the wheel. This isn't very faithful." And it's really nice when
Right.
you have that sort of get out of jail free card where you can try to adapt the story as faithfully as you can, but you then have a good reason to say, "Oh, well, it's a television show. We have to do a little different." So that's
Oh,
what I
Yeah,
sure.
enjoy
and
about
as a someone who's a fan, you have that get out of jail free card too, because you can watch the
Oh yeah,
show and
Yeah.
not be judging it based on the movie,
Yeah.
as it
And
happens.
based
again,
on the
and
book.
again,
Because yeah,
this is just another project that's in development. We'll see if it goes forward. It might not. Most of them
And
don't.
yeah,
absolutely. If it does though, there is a YouTuber I watched who I believe you've met, Daniel Green, and he said he wants to be a vampire in the show and get killed off. So I'm just throwing that out there for a YouTuber I have to
Oh,
respect.
okay.
I
yeah,
have
yeah,
he mentioned just wants to be a vampire that gets killed off like the very first scene he's in, just like a background character. So I figure I'll throw that out there while I'm here.
Yeah,
So
that'd be a fun thing to do.
you said you're going to be on tour. Where are some of the places people might want to catch up to you if you're there in their area?
Well, if you go to jim-butcher.com or Jim Butcher Online,
Yeah,
my website. I've got posts
yeah.
there to tell everybody where I'm going to be and when. I'm going to
Okay,
be all
we'll
over
make
the place for the next, starting on Monday. I'm going to be all over the place for about 10 days.
okay. Well, we'll
Um,
make sure and put that on the website. And yeah, you're probably so busy you don't even know. You have to check your own website to see where you're going.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Anywhere you're looking
I
forward to
think I think I
going?
start off in Seattle.
Any particular place you're looking forward to,
Oh,
or is it
home
back
when I'm
home?
done.
Oh,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
makes
I'm
sense.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm a homebody, man. I like to
Yeah,
stay. If I can make up an excuse not to leave my house, I make up the excuse not to leave my house.
I'm right there with you. I have the same. Yeah, that's where I want to be. So
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
family, everything is going good there, I suppose. All excited about the new book.
Yeah, we're fine.
Yeah, your son, he's a writer too, right? If I'm not
He is.
mistaken.
Yes, James has his own series. He writes under the name James J. Butcher, which is his name. Uh,
Sure,
and
sure.
I think he's getting set for book 4 in his series.
Yeah,
now
Tristan.
do you read his work, or do you just I mean, I imagine you support his work as a fellow author, but are you an avid reader?
Well, I support his work. He's my son. Um,
Absolutely, yeah.
but also, I don't want to lean too hard on him. I don't want to read his stuff and then say you should do this, you should do that, which I probably would do if I read because I have opinions.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things that is sort of I try and keep a bit of distance. I'm following along a bit behind what he's actually publishing, so that I'm not leaning on which way he should go.
Okay.
He's kind of got a big shadow to step out of as things are, and I want him to have as much freedom to do what he wants as possible.
Sure.
Absolutely. I respect
You want
that.
to encourage, but not necessarily influence. You don't want to find his own way.
Exactly.
Yeah,
He's a very different person than me. He looks at writing differently than I do, and I think that's fantastic.
that's great. Yeah, I'm a big into family and keeping. That's why Tristan and I do so much together. We try to enforce that. So, Tristan, did you have anything else for Mr. Butcher before?
Um, I was gonna mention one more story I've heard about you. I know I've been talking a lot, kind of just bringing up
Quick,
the past a lot, but this one's a little funny if I have the time.
how are you on time, Mr. Butcher?
Yeah, sure, we can do that real quick.
Okay, real
Okay.
quick.
I was gonna mention with the I believe it's I can't remember the name of the series. It's Dresden Files or Cinder Spires, and then there is the heavily Roman inspired. What was the name of that series again? You have it behind you.
That's the Codex Alera.
Codex Alera. We had a guy on who did his series called Codex Inversus, so I get those two mixed up a lot. But with Codex Alera, the story I've heard is it started with an online argument you've had with a guy between what's more important, the idea or the execution. And you asked him to give you a bad idea that you'd make a good story. And the idea he gave you was the Roman Legion mixed with Pokemon. That's true, correct?
Well, no, that's not quite accurate. I mean, it wasn't just me and this other guy. It was a big discussion online, and this was before I was published, And I was just one more loudmouth on the internet instead of a high profile loudmouth on the internet. And but we were, and the discussion was going back and forth, and it was a discussion about execution versus idea versus concept. And the one side of the argument thought that if you had a good enough idea, that didn't matter how badly you wrote it, it would be successful, and they held up Jurassic Park as their example. And then my side of the argument was, it doesn't matter how old or worn out the idea, if you can put your own spin on it, you can make something that an audience is going to enjoy. How many versions of Romeo and Juliet have we seen?
Right.
Absolutely.
And so that argument went back and forth, and finally, at some point, it was one of those arguments that you hit caps lock, you hit reply, and then caps lock, and then you start typing. Kind of one of those discussions.
Right.
But finally, at some point, this guy says, "All right, let's see you put your money where your mouth is. Let me give you a terrible idea and see you write it into something good." And being as I was younger and I knew a lot more at the time, I said, "No, how about you give me 2 terrible ideas and I'll use them both," because that's kind of the attitude I had. And so the ideas he gave me were Lost Roman Legion and Pokemon. And so I said, fine, I'll start doing that. So I started doing research to put this series together. And I was researching Lost Roman Legions, and then I was researching Pokemon. I realized I had something good. And because at the time we didn't know how the internet was going to interact with copyright law, I was like, okay, I don't want to post it here, but I think I've got something good here. And so I'm gonna keep it to myself. And the guy says, "Oh, so in other words, I'm right." And I'm like, "Okay, man, whatever, you're right." And he got to be right, and I got a 6-book contract.
I mean, also though,
Good deal.
how does that come off as a bad idea? That sounds sick as hell. No matter how you Pokemon meets Roman Legion.
I don't know. I'd have a hard time putting those two together.
He had ideas about things.
I guess
honestly, I think I think the whole point is if you've got. I have Dresden say this several times in the books as well. If you've got a problem, you've got a problem. But if you've got 2 problems, you might have a solution. And so even with 2, I think 2 terrible ideas is a great way to start putting together a story.
Sure.
I mean,
at least you have some kind of direction. You got to bring them together.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Butcher, you about the same age. Are you slowing down? Or are you ramping up? Have you considered retiring any time, or should your audience expect much more?
I'm going to write until I'm dead. That's the plan.
Great.
Awesome. I don't plan to retire. I have slowed down a bit over the past several years, although that's been more about stuff happening in my life than about my professional goals and so on.
Sure.
I would like to spend the next 10 years or so just writing as quickly as I can, which is the plan. Which is the next book is it's about a third of the way done now.
Great.
And I want to finish that. As soon as I get back from this tour, I'm going to sit down and work. I want to finish it before we get to the end of spring, and then hopefully I can have the next one out in fairly good order.
Well, that's great. Well, we're very excited. We're both big fans. I will say this: when everything happened on the last one, before I let you go, poor Tristan, I thought I was going to have to go give him a Valium. He's like, I cannot believe because we had sat there for 2 hours making sure everything was working, and we were recording, and then the rookie mistake.
Oh, these things happen.
2 goofballs in Kentucky, But that poor guy. So I would just personally want to thank you for coming back on for my son, because he was heartbroken. Thought it was the end of the world. He was going to give up on writing, and I don't know what would have happened. So
no worries.
Don't worry. I will somehow. We'll get him back on here.
And, we got this done. No problem.
Yeah, we'll
awesome.
put both together, and we'll have quite a good one. And we looking forward to your book, and very excited for you. And congratulations on finishing that.
Thank you for coming on.
Thanks very much. Thank you, guys.
It's an honor.
Thank you, sir.
Have a great day.
Right.
Bye.
Bye.
Enjoy your trip.